Here we are, once again,
Woo!
breaking through the Omniverse. My pal Dave Molyneux.
Hello,
Am I getting it?
my little, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I
Well
practiced.
done. You right, my little friend Eric Anthony,
There
from
it is.
across the water.
How you doing, buddy?
All right, man. All right,
That's
geeking out
good.
nicely. How about you?
Same here. I didn't read as much this weekend as I would have liked, but I'm just about finished the Strangers in Paradise Volume 1.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
desperately need to jump on that.
I would love to see. Yeah, there it is. I
They're
would
just
love
within
to.
spitting distance, and I haven't
Yeah,
started.
come on. I'd love to just see your reaction to it. Anyways, um, everybody that's watching on Twitch or watching afterwards on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. Don't forget to rate and review. Press that subscribe button right there, and it just helps. We appreciate the support. Helps get the word out, and it helps us make better stuff, as we always say. And of course, do the same if you choose to listen to this on in audio world on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, whichever podcast platform you choose. Rate and review. Hit the subscribe. We appreciate it. Keeps us up climbing in the charts, and you'll be a part of it. And don't forget, omniversecomics.guide is the spot where you get the videos, you get the collector item special videos. All of our podcasts are there, and the reading orders, reading reviews, all comic book goodness that you're looking for. Omniversecomics.guide. There you go.
Nice.
Shall we begin? This week, top 5. Got to send a shout out. Top 10. You're my 5, your 5, top 10. Send a shout out for this week's top 10. Dave, let them know who inspired us.
So, regular viewer, we're giving a shout out to regular listener Omega Bread for his suggestion, which is top 10 mysteries. Ooh.
So, what would this constitute for you?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I always like doing this thing where if we float this, I like that you sometimes have your interpretation, I sometimes have my interpretation.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun,
Yes.
right? Because that means
It's
that
fun.
we get quite different things. But I mean, in my mind, it's just, in theory, any relatively lengthy, not the story arc's worth in theory. Like if we're talking mainstream comics, a story arc's worth of mystery is not very long, is it? It's not very big. So just a big mystery. Who was the thing? Who was behind the thing? Who killed who? Any of those kind of things.
Right.
The big mysteries. But also like an independent comics, you can have an independent comic that is a 4-issue, 5-issue series that's a mystery. I think that
Absolutely
counts perfectly as well.
Yeah. So I was at one point thinking like mystery genre. I'm not sure if I've read enough, and if I have read enough to list, I might be picking the same things I listed like 2 weeks ago for something else. And then me and you went back and forth a little bit on it. That was an option, of course.
Yeah.
But it's also like those long, like you said, those long spanning sort of things that never get revealed, but bit by bit.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, sometimes it was better left a mystery. There are some of those that are so so good that it's just like, man, they should just left it. And then there's times where they do it, and it's like, that was great.
Well, that's the thing. In terms of tonight, I mean, there are a couple of things I was going to choose where I haven't finished yet, but I love the mystery so much. Either they haven't released the ending yet, and it's a good current mystery book, or whatever. But I haven't chosen it because I don't want to kind of sell something where I don't know if there's a decent payoff. But admittedly, one of mine has got a pretty crap payoff.
But I think the payoff is it's very, very important. The payoff is like sticking that landing is extremely important. I will say, however, that it's very hard. That's the thing. A lot of times, even in real life, we're underwhelmed by this thing that we've caused so much anxiety for. Mm-hmm. Right? We've built up, and that little unknown drives us crazy to the point where when it's revealed, we often think to ourselves, no, that can't be it. It's definitely this person did this and they said that. It has to be something more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so it's that build up sometimes over
the build up
years.
is better than the reveal.
Because the stories that take place because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Are what's good. So, okay.
You go first.
All right. Man. I keep thinking of that stupid Hidden Gems pick that wasn't a Hidden Gems pick on my part, or I'm like, that would have been a great option.
Now is the time. Now is the perfect time, man. Damn it.
And I'm like, no. I wanted to do it just for the sake of it being funny, but
You can do it every week now. You can do that.
I probably could. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with one that I don't think you've read yet. I think you would probably enjoy it, but it's Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ah.
This was something that got a good amount of hype. You don't know who is this Last Ronin, this last Ninja Turtle, but it's a surviving one of them. There's no tell
Is it
based
because
on
they're
anything.
not wearing the color or using the weapon?
They're not wearing the color, but all the weapons are being used.
Oh, I see. Because
this one.
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So there's a lot of recall memories and things that occur that once you get to the point where it's revealed, you'll say, "Oh man, why didn't I think of that?" Right? There's like a little obvious thing, but don't worry about it. Just read it. Just read it and enjoy it, because it's a dystopian Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, kind of like the I guess you could say the Dark Knight Returns for the Ninja Turtles. But you do see April, and you see the cast of characters that you would normally look for, want to see where they end up, how that world is functioning now with all of the different political things that I'm making it bigger than what it is, but like the Foot Clan and the Japanese sort of like tribal wars that they were having. Where does that all end up? Where does that fit into this mythology at this point? And who would be able to kill all of them except for one? Like there's 4 turtles together as a foursome. They're pretty unstoppable thus far.
I've seen an unstoppable foursome. That might be a conversation for another top 10.
But the one who would survive? How? And what brought this on? Like, what was it that finally got to them? You always want to see what is the thing that made the heroes lose that time.
Yeah.
What did they lose? Who did they lose? And then what's the leftover? So without giving anything other than that away, Last Ronin, great artwork. Kevin Eastman is involved. Like is
he writing or co-writing?
He's co-writing. He's credited as a writer, and I think I don't want to misquote, but I think, what is the gentleman's name who wrote like 100 issues of it? Tom Laird? No, that's Peter Laird.
Peter Laird.
Tom Waltz.
Tom
Waltz.
Oh, he wrote the IDW series, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is through IDW. His run on the Ninja Turtles was great. What I read of it. I think I mentioned I wish they omnify that or compendium. Put that in the compendium. Yeah. So TMNT, Last Ronin, check it out. If you love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's a safe bet you're going to love this.
And there is a sequel coming.
But I don't want to say any more by accidentally. I don't want to spoil anything, and because I'm prone to do that. So you take it away, sir, with your first pick of your top 5 of our top 10.
Okay, my number 10-5. It's Planetary, but it's a 27-issue series. It's Warren Ellis and John Cassidy. The mystery of it, underlying it, is who is the fourth man, who's kind of behind a lot of this stuff.
And the book itself, that's one omnibus
like the
that
Planetary
I feel
guide as well, which is cool.
That's right. So I mean, it's the one omnibus where the story is great, but the omnibus is so cool just because it looks like the Planetary guide.
Yeah, it's really thought
Highest
out.
recommendation.
They're the little touches. And that's the thing. You're not just getting... There is an overriding mystery on this, which is who is the fourth man. And when you figure out who it is, it's like, oh, you sneaky little bastards. But it's also, each issue has its own mystery. So as an option for best mysteries, you've got a whole ton of them in here. There's a whole bunch of them in one book. Or however you buy it, 4 volumes or whatever you
get the Omni.
Get the Omni.
Get that Planetary guide.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's great.
I was very tempted by the Absolute though, but I didn't switch. I already had this. I didn't switch it out.
And you know, it's been a very affordable omnibus, at least in Canada.
Yeah.
For people to find it for a good deal. Yeah.
Well, it's still
highest
quite an
recommendation.
under the radar series, considering like at the same time he was doing The Authority, and that was going nuts. Like everyone was going nuts for The Authority, and at the same time, this was like quietly
Is it
poodling
a
along.
hidden gem?
Ooh, I don't know. I
Ooh.
don't. Is it a hidden gem? I don't know. I mean, in theory, it could be, but I think it's one of those things that does feel forgotten.
I feel like hidden gems are like I think you put it the best way. I know we're going on our tangents, but you see stuff like this that come back to it, and because I thought about putting this on a hidden gem, but I'm like, it's got an absolute, it's got an omnibus, like everyone can get it and find it. It's but it's kind of forgotten in the sense of other stuff gets mentioned first,
Yes, a lot of
and
other stuff.
it's one of those things that I think that the initiated people like ourselves who obviously collect everything and try everything, partly because we do this, not everyone who's going to get into if you say Planetary, they're like, yeah, I don't know that. I like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It's a completely normal reaction for someone to not ever read Preacher or Planetary because it's just not their lane, but it's so good.
it is so good, and one of the things as well, like even if they haven't, I think like it's like with that issue with that's the ghost story. I don't know. I don't get the reference, but I know it's there, and it does enough in the story that you kind of go, "Oh, this is a thing," and now I'm going to want to look into that. And I did at the time, I think, but I don't know. It's been a long time. I can't remember now. But some of it will do that, and it will turn you on to other stuff.
That's the
There'll be
best.
some
That's the
things
best.
that is the best, and even if you don't know comics, so it will reward you as a
Mm.
comic reader with all the references to comics in it, but it will also reward you as a film fan. Like there are a lot of
Yes.
sci-fi film references in it, so
Yes.
it's just a different way of giving the reader
It's a
something
book
that they
for
know
fandom.
without. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of geekdom.
Yes.
Sci-fi, superheroics, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
It's a must read. I
it is a
feel
must read.
it's a actual literary must read. I know that's hyperbole, but for between the art and the way the artist and the writer let each other tell their story, it's just something everyone should read.
I loved it. I loved it, and I wanted
Great
to read
pick.
it again straight away, but I've got other stuff. So yeah,
It's a great pick.
thank you.
I like it.
I will very quickly say we do have Omega Red with us. He's made a suggestion about mysteries. I can't share it because it's vulgar. Um, we expect no less. But yes, thank you again.
Oh man, Omega Bread, you're a peach. Um, shall I move on to
Dude,
number two?
yes, go for it.
Okay. So this is a little bit more recent. I'm gonna go with a Marvel pick. Jason Aaron's Thor. A lot of people think it's the Lady Thor who is the one who's worthy now.
Yeah,
Like, and we kind of know there's a movie. It's not a
yeah.
mystery that is a spoiler. For me though, if you haven't read this story, because if you've seen the movie, you know what. There's no excitement anymore in that. But I wanted to know why Thor became unworthy.
Oh
That
yeah,
was the
yeah.
mystery that interested me in reading this whole book because here is this replacement who is doing a perfectly good job at being Thor, outsmarting Odin. There's such a compelling aspect to this character who's new in the role. And now you see Odin's son be like that. He's still a hero. He's still a part of the book, but he cannot yield or wield Mjolnir.
Did
And
they
why?
reveal at the same time who Thor, female Thor, was?
I
Or
think they
how
did
long did it
first.
run? Did they?
Yeah. So you knew first who the female Thor was. Well, why was he unworthy
Oh, that's good
for
thinking.
so long, right? So I just and it wasn't necessarily completely satisfying when people got that moment, but it was also something that you can go back and you read it differently now, knowing what it is.
So I
It,
can't
it
remember because I mean, like,
and I couldn't remember either. I had to
no,
look it up because I'm like, that's something. It's just like when I was talking to you before about Why the Last Man
yeah,
before we started. I remember the whole journey, the story, the moments, the Roxxon, and all of these different things that are
yeah.
happening in Asgard. But I'm like, but this key point or this ending, I forget endings quite a bit. It's very strange. I remember the whole story, the ending part. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that's it. That's right. because I enjoyed everything about it along the way.
I think
And
it's
a
a
lot of
great thing,
times,
though, to forget the ending, because then you read it again, and it's like it's fresh.
yeah, you're like, oh
I'm
yeah,
going to
it
read
comes
it
down
again
to
now.
that.
Who could it have been? Why
Yeah.
did he lose his arm? I think that's the thing for me. It's a lot of the time it is the journey. I don't like spoiling anything. I like not knowing. But I think about
Yeah.
my brain does that, where it just goes, you know what, you like not knowing, so have the moment. No, I'm just going to switch it off. And when you come back to this another day, you can experience it all again.
Yeah. So, what was my pick here? I just forgot.
It was the ending you forgot.
Thor. Yes.
Thor.
And it's revealed in the Unworthy Thor series. They did a 5-issue series that's all connected
That's right.
to the main story. But then you get this moment where it's just gonna focus in on what he's dealing with. So if you've watched the movie, Thor: Love and Thunder,
Apologies.
erase it from your brain.
Yeah. Bleach.
Even if you liked it, erase it from your brain, because the book is tremendous.
Yes.
It's just a fantastic comic book series. Even just the painted art from Esad Ribic in the first 25 issues, it's just breathtaking. A breathtaking Thor story.
Yeah.
Marvel or not, Jason Aaron killed it. So check that out.
Nice.
And find out what the mystery. Why is Thor unworthy?
That's such a good shout.
When you say it's a good shout,
thinking.
I feel like all right, that's good.
I like that.
There you go, Omega
sideways
Bread.
thinking,
That's
man.
what you inspire.
So my second choice of the night is a Marvel one. It's a little controversial, and actually, considering there are so many Marvel mysteries, and there were so many that sprung to mind, but weirdly, the two that rose to the top for me were two of the most hated, or at least unpopular. One was hated, one was unpopular. But I've gone for this one because it's one that's often forgotten. Just before Onslaught started in the X-Men books, so Onslaught was a mystery in itself. So who is Onslaught? La, 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 la. I think at this point, even if you haven't read Onslaught, you know who Onslaught is. But just before that, they introduced a new character, and he was a mutant-hating character, which is, I mean, there are thousands of them in the X-Men, called Bastion. And this mystery is, there was something about him. What's his deal? People can't mentally scan him. Has he got powers? But he can't have powers because he hates mutants. So, I mean, he's what did they call them? They used to call them mutates at that point in the 90s. So if you're born with powers, you're a mutant. And if you get them later, you're a mutate. But they don't really use that phrasing anymore. But anyway, the big reveal this goes on for a while. I think he appears a couple of times through Onslaught, and then he starts to appear a few more times through a storyline that I've summed up on the old Marvel Comics Guide site as the assassination of Graydon Creed. There are hints in there, and it builds towards this big, because everyone's blaming the X-Men for the death of the Avengers and Fantastic Four. Spoilers at the end of Onslaught. So who is Bastion? He's got a whole different bunch of Sentinels working for him, basically. So they're humanoid. Always had a bit of an issue with Sentinels because, in real life, the government go, "Oh, we can't afford to sort out the roads, but we can build 60-foot tall killer robots." It's like that. Always kind of thought that was just a bit silly. There are some things where you there's suspension of disbelief. Metal claws inside a little Canadian guy's arms, fine, absolutely fine. 60-foot killer robots paid for by the government. Although nowadays I'd believe it. This is the storyline that kind of promised to reveal who Bastion was. It's Operation Zero Tolerance. It's one of those storylines that there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of love for. And I think it gets a bit of a bad rap. Part of it's because it came out in the 90s. It was 1997. Have you read it?
So I haven't read it yet. So
Right.
I have this going in my mind of I'm going to do like this big X-Men binge, because I did a big X-Men binge, but I want to go through all of the stuff that gets to Onslaught and then read Operation Zero Tolerance. It got, on one site, a 10 out of 10 rating
I think
on
that's
Adventures in Poor Taste.
really.
Yeah,
That's
and
very kind.
they did acknowledge that not everyone loved it, but they really justified enough to me to make me want to give it a chance. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'm happy that there is a. It's like when I read some of your reviews, I'm like, that's fresh take, and it's a take that you trust because what they brought up were like those are interesting points. And they acknowledge what everyone else acknowledges, but like you said right now, it's something that some people don't like, but there's something to it.
I think a lot of the time as well, people just emulate what other people say.
Right.
It's like the whole 90s hate. The 90s were crap. But then you actually get in conversations with people and they go, as far in my mind, the 90s ended in 1997 and then on, I count that as the 2000s. So then the 90s are crap. But that's still the 90s, you utter moron. Like, you can't just warp time. Can you warp time? Maybe they can.
One day we'll find out.
But it doesn't, like, just to
Denial.
engineer it so you can go, I hate the 90s. Why?
The comics were really reflecting what was in the zeitgeist of pop culture between Baywatch, American Gladiators, like muscled up people that are, sexified.
Yeah.
And extremely strong, and they shouldn't be.
But even then, that still kind of hit a period of time, like a pocket of time. And then we kind of went into it and came out. So it wasn't even the entire full decade, conveniently 1990 to 1999.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It was like, so we can't convene. And a lot of people I hear as well going, oh, the 90s suck. You go, when were you born? 2002. You go, like, screw you, but
shut up.
You didn't live through that shit. So annoyingly, this isn't where the reveal is. And it should have been. So it all builds up to, and they did the same thing in, and excuse me if you're actually going to use this as an example, but Executioner's Song. In Executioner's Song, which is the early 90s X-Men crossover, where they're supposed to reveal, like, because they'd unmasked Strife as like, it looks like Cable. Why does he look like Cable? What's the deal? And then that 14-part crossover was going to reveal who Strife is. And then they build it up and build it up and build it up and then went, we're going to hint, but we're not going to reveal it. And then they just revealed it in a random 3-part Cable storyline. Like, what? Don't do that. Yeah. This is the event. This, unfortunately, is one of the. It's a really good fun story. There's some great bits though, where they've got this insane nanotechnology in this. It's always nanos, isn't it? It's always the nanos.
Always.
Fear the nanos, dude. But they've got this nanotechnology, and then they go like, "Oh, we've got in there into their base, and we've managed to get all their floppy disks." Like, screw what? They're doing everything on floppy disks, but you've got nanobots in people's bodies. Yeah,
90s. That's why
lovely
they were great.
90s. So
right,
yes. So the actual ending to the story is in a 2-parter called Engines of Destruction, which is in Cable and Machine Man Annual and Machine Man and Bastion Annual as a 2-parter, which is in a Cable trade paperback. I will no doubt mention exactly which trade paperback. We'll put it up on the screen. It'll go up the screen in a minute on the edited version.
There it is.
There it is. Watch it go. Whoa, look at it there. Here comes the bottom bit. Yeah, it's in that 2-parter, which is a bit of a random 2-parter, but that's where you get your actual reveal. But by which point you kind of know the answer anyway. But,
right.
But yeah, I mean, that build up to like, who is he? It was quite interesting to the fact that there was such an overlap of mysteries being revealed at that point, because one of them was like the mystery of who Bishop was with like the video that he saw of Jean Grey going, we shouldn't have trusted so-and-so, we shouldn't have trusted him. And that's like way early on, like issue 287-ish, I think that was, in a flashback. 286.
That goes on for a while, right?
That's revealed in Onslaught.
Right.
And then Onslaught is a mystery, and then while that's going on, they've just introduced the mystery of Bastion. So like, there's just mysteries and mysteries and mysteries, and it's like, it was quite a fun period for that.
That's what made X-Men fun.
Yeah, the mysteries were that's what X-Men's all about. But it's one of those ones where like, okay, who is Mr. Sinister? We kind of know who Mr. Sinister is now, so it's not really I think, and actually the reveal for who is Mr. Sinister was like, here he is. Oh, hello. Whereas this was like, it's one of those mysteries that I think people do forget, and there's probably some people that still to this day don't even know who Bastion is.
Good pick. I like the ones that make me want to see what's actually on my shelf and get to it. It's like, ooh, I got that. I should read it finally. I'm gonna go with another Marvel one, and I'm not sure if this is one that you'll maybe take, but I think it's probably the best ongoing, slowly revealed Marvel mystery, and that's, who is Wolverine? Who is this guy? Is that yours? Is that your on
No,
your list? Oh,
no. And now I'm trying to think who messaged me today with a reference to the promo for Marvel for Mysteries, and went that that one. Like,
and
oh
I mean,
man, that's a good choice, and I didn't
even though
choose it.
you know, as a person who's maybe watched the movies and whether you like the X-Men franchise or not, there's a lot out there for you to sink your teeth into and get, Wikipedia. It's all spoiled. There won't be much mystery left. But for a while, no one knew anything about this character.
No,
And just him getting a name besides Wolverine was cool. And then just finding out that he was part of certain agencies was cool. Like bit
I can't
by
find it.
bit by bit, little things that get revealed. Finding out how his claws were coated in adamantium. Finding out that they're made of adamantium and that they're a
Yeah,
part of his body, not in his glove. Like, I'm spoiling things, but they're things now that everyone
you're
knows, right?
not. They've all been
Yeah,
in
I'm
big
not really,
films, so yeah,
yeah, like we all know. But just reading that for the first time as a reader, even though and it's been spoiled, it's still a fun journey to see the way people interact, to see how Wolverine develops as a character and passed around in certain books. And he's a little bit here, and he's got history with these samurai. He's got a samurai history. He's got all these different things about Wolverine that you start to slowly put them together. And it's like, who is this guy?
how does he have time
Is
to be
he?
this guy?
Yeah. It's just he's so proliferated in the 80s and 90s to a point where you can get tired of him. But there was a reason, and there were always different adaptations to how the story was being told, which was part of the fun.
Yeah,
So I mean, I can't recommend a particular book or a series, but as you read classic, modern day, anytime in between Wolverine, just pay attention to the reveals that that character is something always happens to him in the series that will leave a mark on another scar for him in some way, right?
yeah.
You think of the end of Fatal Attractions.
That weirdly, when you were talking just now, Weapon X didn't pop into my head, which should have.
No,
It should have.
I wanted to pick but see, it's all part of like the tapestry. So
Yeah,
pick Weapon X, pick the Wolverine by Frank Miller and Chris Claremont, like all
yeah.
the pieces, little bit by bit. It'll be a fun ride.
The way that they revealed it and different people have had a chance to reveal stuff has created this really complex tapestry, like you say. It's like because Larry Hama obviously revealed a fair amount. Chris Claremont obviously did. And then there's still stuff, and then they'll still throw in other little mysteries, like that whole Wolverine Origins series. Whether you like it or not, they have all those unanswered questions, but then they throw in more mysteries. That's where
Right.
they threw
Yeah.
in Darken.
Right. There's never an end to something that will, because you also realize he's not the age you think he is. He's not necessarily from where you might think he is. There's just, and because his life is so long,
Yeah,
it's the gift and the curse of his story, which makes the character kind of enduring, right? So the mystery of finding out who Wolverine is as you read bits and pieces and go through the timeline of Marvel, it's fun. It's really fun.
that's cool. Actually, Omega Bread has said a perfect example of a mystery that should have remained as such. James Howlett sounds like an MP from Stratford upon Avon, which is true. But I mean, there are some things weirdly where they will say, like people say, like that's something that's untouchable, but it's worked. And there's other bits I think like hasn't necessarily worked. Like for me, the two key things that spring to mind are Weapon X, which I thought was amazing, and the bone reveal, man, because that's that bone reveal when it happened. And I remember turning that page as a kid and just like, what? There's bone under there? Like, why is that a big deal? But it is a big deal. Why is it a big deal?
Yeah, I think it's just to see the character at this sort of like not necessarily vulnerable, but very instinctive. Like there's that rabidness of like, oh, it's almost like seeing someone naked when you get to see them when the dogs show their teeth. You're kind of like, whoa. Suddenly it changes the way you view what they're capable of. It's like those are bones. Like if there's something just I don't know. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy. I wouldn't want to be naked when a dog's showing its teeth.
No. I shouldn't have. I knew that was gonna get intertwined. I don't even know what Omega Bread is saying about that there.
Oh,
Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah. I could actually, but it's yeah.
It's the commercial break.
No.
Well, it's always a good time to remind people to visit omniversecomics.guide. Check that out.
Do that.
There you go.
Jump on our Discord. You can catch us on what's that new thing called? Streams, the Bends. What's it called? Threads. We're on Threads. We're on Tumblr. We're on Pinterest. All those things that Facebook is the one that seems to be really picking up at the minute. Yeah, people like finding us through different means. So, but a more direct route is just jump on omniversecomics.guide.
Nice. All right. Getting back to the countdown.
Okay.
Dave, you're number 3.
Now, I've got my notes, and they're wrong because I changed at the last minute. The gist of Fables, at least the opening gambit, is all the fairy tale characters have left the Fable lands. Are they called the Fable lands? And they've come to the real world, and they're kind of in this Fable street in New York where there are all sorts of magics to hide who they really are. So they send all the talking animals to the farm, and there are giants and stuff there, sort of asleep, disguised as hills and stuff like that. It's really cool. Like it works. Ridiculous as it may sound, it's really cool. Chris Buckingham does a lot of the artwork on it. Eventually, I think I can't remember when he jumps on. I think it's like the mid-teens. Whenever he jumps on, anyways, like it changes the whole feel of the book. Like it makes it. So Chris Buckingham's art is just perfect for this series. It's got this real upbeat feel to it. He's kind of best known for inking Chris Bachalo's stuff on Generation X, I think it was, and maybe a couple of other books. But his own stuff is it's just got a nice vibe to it and a nice tempo to it as it flows through. The characters are really chirpy. When something horrible happens, it makes it somehow feel worse because it looks so sweet. It's perfect for this run. So it's Bill Willingham as well, who's essentially the creator of the book. And you're trying to figure out why they left, and you find out that they were basically chased out of the Fable lands. Is that the right term? By the adversary. The adversary. What we say adversary here, but the adversary sounds better, doesn't it? That's how everyone would say it in the Americas. The adversary. Yeah. Adversary. Not good.
No, it's not.
Not very good, is it?
It doesn't have the panache.
No, it doesn't, does it? The adversary. So, who is the adversary? Like, who? Because it's going to be someone. We know it's going to be someone from a Fable, because that's the whole gist of it. They're all, that's what these characters all are, and they may have fitted into slightly different roles since they've come over. Like the sheriff of Fabletown is Bigby Wolf, who's the big bad wolf, who's essentially the main character.
It's so interesting. It's
so
like,
well done.
So well done.
It's so the way that he's woven it all together is
it really is
incredible. Frankly, I'm so impressed. But there are also side novels as well. So there's at least two novels that tie into it. One is about the Pied Piper.
Man,
we do have them in the house, but I can't remember what they were called. It's brilliant stuff. There's like miniseries as well, like Cinderella, which is a spy series. Of course, that's got its own mysteries and stuff in. But the main gist of the main mystery going through the first good chunk, because they introduce a new bad guy essentially around about issue 75-ish. So before that, it's the adversary, and it's finding out who he is. And I do not want to spoil it. If you actually Google adversary, it tells you immediately who it is. So if you want to spoil it for yourself,
I haven't spoiled it yet.
But don't do it, because it's such a good reveal. And when you actually read it, you go, "Oh God, of course it is." But what? It's so good. It's so good. So I bought this. I think I bought the first couple of books, and I lent them to Misha to read, and she just got hooked, and that's what kind of partly what kept me in as well.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a good Vertigo run, because I think like Hellblazer probably had the biggest Vertigo run, which was 300 issues, I think.
Yeah.
Fables was, I think, the next one down. I could be mistaken. at 150.
It's significant body of work.
Yeah,
There's a
very much
lot of
so.
story there with characters who have iconic fairy tale stories
Yeah,
associated with them, but it's built upon so well where you even see how a character like Prince Charming within 3 issues, it's like,
yeah.
of course, he's Prince Charming. Like
But
that's who he would be,
and then it gives them
right?
a chance to kind of turn things on their head, like because there's characters like Boy Blue, and I can't even. I think Boy Blue is like a nursery rhyme. I can't even
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
It's so vague, but
it
then they
is.
make some of these characters really prominent, and you love them or you really hate them. Whereas before you're just kind of like, no, you can't make them a villain, or you can't. It really toys with things. And I think it was due to wrap up around about 75 originally, and then they introduced the Dark One. And he's essentially the villain going forward, and it's like there's always something to tell. I think it was going to be made into a TV series, and then it was, I think Bill Willingham approached two studios, and one of them then suddenly came out with Once Upon a Time, and the other one came out with Grimm, I think. So they kind of took bits and went, thanks very much.
Silly.
Yeah,
It won't be anywhere near as original as
it's
Fables
not.
is.
It's not. Nothing's as
Won't be.
good. It's so clever. It's so rewarding. Whether you get the compendiums or the compendiums in the box, or you get them as individual trades, or you get them as the deluxe editions, like they've collected this as single issues, or everything so many times.
Worthwhile read.
It shows
Worthwhile read.
that it's
Yeah,
worth your time. So
for sure. Good pick. Good call, Dave.
thank you.
I like it.
Oh, it was the
Number-
Homelands. Thank you, Meat Trunks. It was the Homelands.
There you go. That's why we got you guys and gals on here, helping us out. Can't do it without you, or else we would just sound like two idiots who don't remember anything they've ever read. But I really like
we do
it
anyway.
You really should read what we read.
Read
I don't
this.
remember
It's really
it.
good.
Yeah.
Where do I read it? I don't know. I'll put pictures up afterwards.
Okay, this is another recently read by me within the year, and that's 52, the weekly 52. 52 issues. You can buy them in 2 trades or 1 omnibus. I would say do the 2 trades. It's more bang for your buck. The omnibus is over $200 in Canada, which is ridiculous. Every pocket of the books, there's a mystery tied into what those characters are going through, what they're either trying to escape or come back home to. In the case of Adam Strange, you're thinking of Renee Montoya and The Question and what that whole story is. The Cult of Superman and Ralph Dibny, along with Dr. Fate. There's a whole mystery there. There's a whole mystery tied in with Black Adam.
Yep.
The one that interested me was Supernova. Here's this brand new character that's completely masked but caped, Superman-esque colors, the red, white, blue with a little bit of yellow. And he is taking Metropolis and the world by storm by being like this Superman replacement, to the point that Clark Kent this is a spoiler, Clark Kent gets rescued by him in order to try to find the story. Who is this Supernova?
Wasn't this a period when Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman essentially dipped out?
They dipped out.
Did the whole Justice League? Oh, the Justice League kind of disbanded, didn't they?
The Justice League's disbanded, so there's no sign of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. But Clark Kent is depowered, and he's just living life regular in Metropolis after Infinite Crisis. And he's kind of happy to be, I can't do anything anymore. It's just me and my wife. And I go to work, and I'm a reporter. But he takes a chance to try to get the story of who this Supernova guy is. And it's interesting to see Superman be rescued by someone he can't even, like, who are you? I need to figure out, for the sake of the story, I need to know who this character is. And it's maybe it wasn't other people's favorite portion of the book, but I do like the characters that it was associated with.
It was, like you say, it was like filling that gap, that missing year. What happened? And it sounded like it was more interesting than what was going on in the main books when they came back. It's like, what's a year been like for them when, what's happened in that year? It was like 52 is doing it. 52 has taken all the kind of lower tier characters.
Yeah.
And just giving you, because that's what makes the lower tier characters work. You know, there's still only so much you can do with a Superman or a Batman. With this, you can throw in anyone and go like, we're gonna just change shit up now.
It was so fun. And you don't see your usual, like you said, these are lower tier characters who now are going to be featured in films, have been featured in films in some cases, and TV shows. But at this time, they were characters being built up. So if you want to see why some of these shows and whatnot are featuring these characters, this was a place where someone like Renee Montoya got a lot of screen time. Someone like Black Adam, really, they dig into a lot of his sort of who he is and what motivates him and what he feels justifies his actions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That series made me love Black Adam.
Yeah, it's a great series. And then there's even the stuff happening in, Metropolis with Lex Luthor and offering people superpowers, basically. Say, hey, we lost our superheroes, we got no Justice League. How about you lucky citizens? You could become a hero. Where he is this industrialist, owns the conglomerates of the city and all of this stuff, and I also have this technology. I don't know if they're nanites or not, but those damn nanites.
Probably nanites. You know how it is with nanites.
So 52 issues, complete story, and you get a lot of the DC universe at your fingertips, literally.
Yeah, some of it really obscure. Egg foo, yes.
So it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, go for it.
So we're going to stay with DC for my number 4. And it's still funny even now whenever I run stuff about this period of DC where people get so angry about it. And we've mentioned it a few times, the New 52 era. But I'm currently reading, I've read it before, but I'm currently rereading Forever Evil, and I'm loving every minute. I'm loving every minute of it. You can jump back and go to the beginning of that first 6 issues storyline, the origin storyline of the Justice League from New 52. You could jump a bit forward and go Throne of Atlantis. I'd recommend starting with World's Most Dangerous, and that story in itself has a big mystery to it, which leads into Trinity War, which has at least 2 mysteries to it. Kind of 3 really, which is perfect for Trinity War. And then you hit Forever Evil, and the Forever Evil mystery is basically who's the guy with the bag on his head. But I love it. It's the guy with the bag on his head. Who's the guy with the bag on his head? This whole period has got so many mysteries, like who is the outsider, who are the secret society, who's the guy with the bag on his head, how do they, are they going to kill Nightwing? It's not a mystery, but like, are they going to kill Nightwing? There's so much stuff. There's so many reveals, and it's great. And this is Jeff Johns stuff. So like, even if people go like, "Oh, I hate New 52," this is Jeff Johns stuff, man. This is great stuff.
I feel his Justice League is a standalone. What would you say? Would you say that the Ultimates are one of the best Avengers stories?
Yeah.
And I think this falls into that Ultimates category. It's an Ultimates Justice League, in a way.
Whether they kind of figure it still counts or not, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Just have fun with it.
Easy to read.
With Injustice. People go like, Injustice is great. Treat it the same way. Exactly. Just read it and have fun with it. Yeah. Someone made it up.
100%. Yeah. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. It's good stuff. Great pick. I'm happy. That was a good one.
Thank you. I'm not even sure what the pick was. Was it the outsider? Was it the guy with the bag on his head? I think it was probably a bit of both.
Well, it was Forever Evil, right?
It's Forever Evil, which has the mystery. One of the mysteries is who's the guy. But I think as a whole, with Trinity War, like who is the outsider? Who is that guy? Even when you find out he's the outsider, if you know your DC history from years and years and years and years ago, the outsider will mean something more to people. It's an old reference.
Okay. Right. All right. I'm going to leave my final pick to you, Dave. Should I go with not obvious, but a classic? Or, I mean, they're both classics, but one is low-hanging fruit and one is a little bit more, maybe a hidden gem. Which one?
Do I get any more clues?
One will irritate you.
Irritate me then.
All right. Everyone's going to be like, gee, could you be more obvious, Eric? But I'm going to go with The Watchmen.
Oh, you bastard.
I'm going to go with The Watchmen. A lot of people will tout that book as, it's a great graphic novel, one of the best, literary accomplishments. We've heard all the praise. But as far as mysteries goes, it's built around mysteries. How did Dr. Manhattan become Dr. Manhattan? The first issue, there's a murder. Who killed the comedian? Who's killing all of these heroes? You've seen a movie perhaps, but if you've never seen it, never read it, the way it all unfolds, and as you are on the journey reading this book and you slowly put it together, there's still satisfaction to it. All the characters, finding out, like, where did these people, what are their connection to each other? Where do they come from? How do they team up? Why would this guy be? It's the premise of these people are living in a real world where if something freakish happened to someone and there became a Dr. Manhattan, what would it actually be like? Kind of like the Men of Steel premise, right? When they say if Superman really existed and there was an alien invasion, what would the destruction be like? I know Dave is not a fan of this book, which is one of the things I love about him. But it is, as far as mysteries go, it is one that you can't. It's undeniable that it's literally built around a huge conspiracy. And if you've never read it yet, check it out, because you just might like it. You just might like it.
You probably haven't heard of this, but it's called Watchmen, and it's by some bloke. It's quite funny. There's 2 comments and they made me laugh. Meat Trunk says, "Gee, could you be more obvious, Eric?" Which, like, he's digging at you, man. It's all good. And then Omega Bread said, "I thought he was going to pick do a Powerbomb."
This close. Because you want to know what? It's the most recent comic where there was a reveal where I went a couple times. So that's why I wish I would have picked it. But yeah, I'm gonna be. Listen, Dave told me to do it. I left it up to him.
Oh, I wish
Guys, don't be mad at me. I would have picked another series that I'm currently reading right now, but too late.
We'll do another one of these. Funnily enough, I did think about Watchmen while doing this and going, no, because it is like, in terms of mystery comics. It's a mystery. The whole thing is a mystery comic.
The whole thing, yeah. It's one of those few times where it's like, okay, it's an undeniable one, and if you do get into the hobby of reading comics, it is something that, try it out. Just see. You may like it, you may not. You want to see what the hype is about. See if it lives up to it.
Yeah,
so it's worth giving a shot to.
You should give everything a try. Give everything a try, but don't think you have to. The reason, again, like, I know I've mentioned this before, I won't go into it. The reason I mention Watchmen as an example is you don't have to like Watchmen. That's right. The thing that a lot of the kind of fanboy types say is that you have to like Watchmen. It is the greatest. No. It's up to you what you think is the greatest. Like what you like. That's it. I'll shut up.
So yeah, check it out. Sorry for those who are hoping for something a little bit more. But I had a couple. I had things that are still on the list I could have mentioned, but I said, for a first time, maybe a person thinking I haven't read comics before, and I like mysteries. What's a mystery? Try Watchmen. Never read it.
Yeah, don't. So
listen to Dave. Give it a try.
I don't mean it. Read what you like. Because I think that there are some books where, there's so much hype around them. Sometimes you buy them because you feel you should, and then they just sit there. You don't read it.
You want to know what happened to me? Watchmen. Greatest book.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
But when I was at a Comic-Con, it was just before the movie was about to come out, and the vendor, was like, "Come and get Watchmen. We're selling it for $10." And I'm like, "Is it really that good?" I hadn't read it. I was in my 20s, and I said, "Was it really that good?" He's like, "After I finished it, I saw God." And I'm like, "I'll get a copy." Like, he made like, that was the way. He's like, "You have to read this in your life. After I read it, I saw God." I'm like, whoa, like, what could be in this book that is so mind bending, right? And I didn't see God, but
no,
it's good. It's a good book.
It's a good book.
But don't go into it. That's all I'll say. Don't go into it with all that hype train, because it usually disappoints you. But your number 5. What's your number 5 for tonight?
My number 5 is currently being re-released as a series of paperback omnibuys. This is Resident Alien. This is a mystery series. Volume 1 of the omnibus has the first 3 storylines. Volume 2 has the second 3 storylines. There is a Volume 7. If you're buying them as individual, like Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, of like the individual storylines, there is another one. But I think essentially 1 and 2 of the omnibus collect the main story. It has come up recently, but I didn't really go into detail on it. I think it was a kind of a mention that they were releasing Volume 2 of this, but it's a murder mystery series with an alien who's trying to hide the fact that he's on Earth. So you see him for most of the time. Well, they mentioned him being purple. I thought he was green or grey the whole way through. Damn colour blindness. But there are mysteries upon mysteries, because each storyline is its own mystery. Harry Vanderspiegel, as he calls himself, this alien, that's an inconspicuous name, and he's got these telepathic abilities where he can basically make people think he looks human, but like 1 in a million people can probably see through it. So what's gonna happen? Of course.
Cool.
It's lovely. It's by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse, 2 British creators. It feels like a very British comic in that it's super subtle. The art is very clean and nice, and it's not all about big punchy dynamic explosion things, but it's the comfort blanket of comics. And Harry is just such a lovely character, and you just want him to not be found out, because while this whole thing is going on, the FBI find his ship, and they're trying to track him down and figuring out, is he actually an alien? Is this a practical joke? Is it, what's going on? Are we being conned here? Or is, what's another agency's trying to screw us over? What is it? Are they going to find him? And what happens when they do? So there's that. It's not that in itself isn't a mystery, but you've got that whole tension building up of like, what's going to happen if they catch him? Are they going to catch him? It's great. And yeah, so like each storyline you get a new mystery. So if you like mystery comics, it's a fantastic mystery comic. I think I mentioned the other week that a friend of mine just messaged me recently and said, like, I based on reviews, I bought this book, and he's never really bought comics before. I think he bought like Commando comics, which is that's the UK best feeling thing. Yeah, it's like, it's working. But it's great when someone does that.
I'm gonna check out that series.
It's lovely. Been really well. He's read it, and he's bought book 2 of this.
Nice
already.
Yeah, you've been really building it up. That's cool.
It's such a nice series. There is I think I mentioned this as well. So I don't like repeating bits, but it felt like it needed its own slot, because I've mentioned it in passing a few times. But there is a TV series. I haven't seen it, but I think it's more of a comedy. The way that they've at least done trailers for it, it looks like a bit of a silly comedy. With like, this is how he eats in public. Like he's going to eat fish whole and stuff like that. And they're going like, "Are you all right, Harry?" Like, oh no, come on. It's not Harry and the Hendersons. It's Resident Alien. It's 2 different things. Right. So, but that's what adaptations do.
Good pick. And I love that you have such a affection for this series.
Yeah, I really love it.
Do a powerbomb.
I think I'll do a powerbomb next time.
Do you want to know what my other pick would have been?
Give me a clue.
Gonna have to wait for the end of the year review. Leave it at that.
All right.
And maybe you'll agree with me at the end of the year. We'll see.
I don't have to agree with you.
No, you don't. I'm saying if you happen to read it.
Okay.
Maybe you'll
tell me afterwards?
You know what? Yeah.
All right.
All right. All right. Awesome. That was fun. Thank you, Omega Bread. That was a ton of fun. It was a little bit of a brain teaser, but other than the obvious one that I picked, I enjoyed having to. Wow. But yeah, thank you. And if you folks listening, what are some of your favorite mysteries? Are there any comments of people weighing in?
Oh, Dave? Wait, Meat Trunk says Batman, R.I.P. and the whole Morrison run. I've read that, but not in a long time. So like,
I was tempted to put a bunch of Batman stuff on there, but it would have been like, some of it I don't even know if it would be a point to list it, because everyone would kind of know. Not that people don't know Watchmen, but what? There might be people who haven't read it, Dave. Shut up.
My favorite part of this show is winding Eric up
for my picks and then making fun of me on the Discord. Anyways,
I never make fun of you on the. Do I make fun of you on the Discord?
No. I think you just teased me when I was trying to justify my do a powerbomb pick. You're like, whatever you want to say, dude. Keep telling yourself.
I stand by that.
And it's fair. It's getting hard to justify, especially when I want to pick it for so many other things. Idiot.
Is Omega Bread, who again, thanks again for this suggestion. Says some great picks, but his honorable mentions, and these are legit ones, which I'm surprised about, are Black Hammer, Hush, and Nerdy Peter Parker's ability to pull supermodels, slinging as
That's
much
a good one.
as webs.
That's a good one. Hush was on my list, but I think I've mentioned it so often at this point where I feel like, yeah.
Do you want to mention something obvious, right?
No, I've never mentioned or listed Hush, Watchmen before. Let's face it, we've never really talked about it that much on our show.
No, it's because it sucks.
Because Dave doesn't like it. But I said, do you want to be irritated? And you said, irritate me. So you did it to yourself. Everyone listening, everyone watching, thank you so much for being on the live, being on the YouTube after the fact, listening on your podcast platforms. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It's all going to help us make the Omniverse Comics.guide a better place for you to visit.
Cheers.